In 1883, an archaeologist pulled a drilled granite core from Giza. When he measured it, the numbers stopped making sense. A groove spirals around the core at a rate that by his own calculation required 1 to 2 tons of force pressing down on the drill. The tool that made it was supposedly copper, a metal softer than the stone it was cutting. Engineers have since tested the official explanation. This video is about what those tests actually found. 4th Dynasty Egypt, around 2500 BC, worked with copper tools, stone hammers, and sand. No iron, no steel, no hardened drill bits, at least none in the archaeological record. And yet the Egyptians sawed basalt, drilled granite, and hollowed out stone boxes with interior walls flatter than many modern floors. The official explanation is specific. Copper saws and tubular drills fed with quartz sand as an abrasive, plus dolerite pounders for quarrying. In the next 10 minutes, we'll look at 5 granite cuts, and in each case we'll present that official theory in its strongest form first, including the experiments that support it. Then we'll show you the one measurement it doesn't account for. One of these 5 objects was the subject of a modern replication experiment. The team proved the official method genuinely works. Copper and sand really do cut granite. But they also measured how fast. That number is the most uncomfortable thing in this video, and we've placed it right in the middle. Start with that core from 1883. Flinders Petrie, the man who effectively founded scientific archaeology, cataloged it as core number 7 in his survey The Pyramids and Temples of Giza. It's a cylinder of red granite, small enough to hold in one hand, cut by a tubular drill sometime around the age of the pyramids. Petrie's measurements are the problem. He documented a groove that spirals around the core, descending a full inch over a 6-inch turn around the stone. A cutting rate he called astonishing, and one he calculated would require 1 to 2 tons of load on a copper tube. That is not how you gently grind through granite. That is how you plow through it. The counter-argument exists, and it's serious. Archaeologists, including Denny Stocks, argue the groove isn't a true machining spiral at all, but the product of sand abrasion and an irregular wobbling cut, striations that replication can reproduce. The debate has run for over a century now. What nobody disputes is what Petrie physically measured. The core is still in the Petrie Museum in London, and a drill core is small. The next cut weighs 1,100 tons. In the granite quarries of Aswan lies an obelisk that was never finished, 42 meters long, around 1,100 tons. The weight of roughly 3 fully loaded Boeing 747s in a single piece of stone. Work stopped when cracks appeared, and it's still attached to the bedrock, which makes it a frozen snapshot of the method. In 1922, the engineer and Egyptologist Reginald Engelbach surveyed it for his book The Problem of the Obelisks. He found the trenches around it were beaten out with dolerite pounders, handheld balls of hard stone, and he tested the method himself. It works. Slowly, based on his own trials, Engelbach estimated that pounding out the trenches alone would have consumed months of continuous labor by rotating crews. But here is what his book concedes it cannot resolve: how 1,100 tons was supposed to be lifted out of that trench and moved to the river. No Egyptian rope, sledge, or lever system in the record has been demonstrated at even half that weight. The largest obelisks ever actually erected were a third of this size. Someone in that quarry believed this stone could be moved. We don't know why. Stay with us. The next section is the replication experiment we promised at the start, and its result cuts both ways. In the 1980s and 90s, the archaeologist Denny Stocks did what almost nobody in the field had done. He stopped arguing and started cutting. Over 2 decades of trials, published in 2003 as Experiments in Egyptian Archaeology, Stocks drilled and sawed granite using only what the Egyptians had: copper tubes, copper saws, and quartz sand. And the official theory passed. The sand does the cutting. The copper merely carries it. This is the strongest version of the mainstream position, and it is real. Then come his numbers. Stocks' tubular drill removed granite at roughly 2 cubic centimeters per hour, about 1 sugar cube. Now run the arithmetic on a single artifact. Hollowing the interior of one large granite sarcophagus means removing hundreds of thousands of cubic centimeters of stone. At replication rates, that is years of continuous drilling and grinding for one box. And the Old Kingdom produced granite sarcophagi, casing blocks, columns, vessels, and thousands of drilled holes as a matter of routine. Stocks himself concludes it was feasible, given enough hands and enough time. What his experiment leaves open is industrial. The workforce, the workshops, and the mountains of worn-away copper this output would consume. Archaeologists point to the workers' town at Giza. Whether it scales to this arithmetic is precisely the open question. East of the Great Pyramid lies a pavement of black basalt, a stone even less forgiving than granite. Several blocks carry long, straight saw marks. A few carry something better, overshoot cuts where the saw ran past its intended line and bit into stone that was never meant to be touched. Mistakes are evidence. They prove a real physical blade of considerable length was pulled through basalt on that plateau. The geologists Rosemarie and Dietrich Klemm, who survey stones and quarries in ancient Egypt, mapped the sources of Egyptian building stone, traced this basalt to quarries at Gebel Katrani near the Fayum, meaning the blocks were shipped dozens of kilometers before cutting even began. The open problem is the blade itself. To leave marks like these, the saw needed length, tension, and an edge that survived the stone. Copper alone doesn't survive it. Copper with sand does. At the rates we just saw, these marks are among the most direct physical evidence of industrial stone sawing anywhere in the Old Kingdom, and there is still no consensus reconstruction of the saw that made them. One site left, and it's the one where the numbers get strangest underground. In 1851, the archaeologist Auguste Mariette broke into an underground gallery at Saqqara and found the Serapeum, a tunnel system holding roughly 24 granite boxes. Each box, with its lid, weighs on the order of 70 tons, about as heavy as a main battle tank, cut from single blocks of Aswan granite, moved hundreds of kilometers, then maneuvered through underground corridors with clearances you could measure in centimeters. The precision claims here are contested, so let's be precise about that. The engineer Christopher Dunn measured interior surfaces of the boxes with machinist straight edges and reported flatness within thousandths of an inch. Egyptologists dispute his interpretation, and Dunn publishes outside academia, treat his numbers with caution. What is not contested is the logistics. No crane, no ramp system, and no turning mechanism in the archaeological record explains how 70-ton boxes were rotated into side chambers inside a tunnel. Most of the boxes date to Egypt's late period, closer to our time, with better tools available. The transport problem doesn't care. Underground, in the dark, the official toolkit simply runs out of room. Literally, here's the pattern across all 5. In every single case, the official method is real. Pounders shape granite. Engelbach proved it. Copper and sand cut granite. Stocks proved it. The mystery was never whether these techniques work. It's throughput. Every time a method is tested, it performs at rates that sit orders of magnitude below what the surviving artifacts demand, 1 sugar cube of granite per hour, against a civilization that produced sarcophagi, obelisks, pavements, and 70-ton boxes routinely. Archaeology has answered the question, how is it possible? It has not yet answered how was it done at that pace, at that scale, in that window of time. Those are different questions, and the gap between them is where this entire subject actually lives. If you think the labor math closes that gap, enough crews, enough decades, enough copper, make that case in the comments. We read every one. And if there's a granite cut we should have included in this 5, name it. There's one obvious candidate we deliberately left out. If you want to go further, we've put together a complete guide covering 50 ancient discoveries that science still hasn't explained. Every site, every mystery, every competing theory, with sources. Link is in the description. And if today's video was useful, subscribe. We publish a new ancient mystery every week.